Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of my tutorial video channel. This is part 6 of interaction between demand and supply and determination of equilibrium price and quantity in the market. As I promised in earlier videos that I would discuss 10 different scenarios where demand and supply and the interaction between demand and supply impact the equilibrium price and quantity in the market in different ways. So in this episode, I will discuss one scenario. And the scenario is in a country the government imposed a tax on butter and at the same time a technological breakthrough achieved in the production of margarine. So, two things have happened. Number one, definitely in a country, the government has imposed a tax on butter, and at the same time, in that country, a technological breakthrough has been achieved in the production of margarine. Now remember, butter and margarine are substitute commodities. The question is, what will be the impact of imposition of tax on butter market as well as margarine market? So I am going to draw two diagrams to describe the equilibrium price and quantity in the butter market and equilibrium price and quantity in the margarine market respectively. Look at the whiteboard carefully. Say this is butter market and this is margarine market. And as I said earlier, always start with the assumption that the market is in equilibrium. That means an equilibrium price and an equilibrium quantity prevail in the market. And always think of the side, that is the side of the market. That means that the dynamic, the change is impacting either the demand side or the supply side. You first decide which side of the market is being impacted by the change. That means the imposition of tax is going to impact certain sides of the market, either demand side or supply side. Let us see which side is being affected. First we draw the diagram. On x-axis we measure quantity and on y-axis we measure price. Say D sub 0 and S sub 0 are the demand curve and supply curve in the butter market respectively. P sub 0 is the equilibrium price and Q sub 0 is the equilibrium quantity. Okay? And in the margarine market, D sub 0 and S sub 0 are the equilibrium, the demand curve and supply curve respectively. So P sub 0 and Q sub 0 are the equilibrium price and quantity respectively in the marginal market. Now, as a result of imposition of tax on butter by the government, the supply curve of butter will shift parallelly leftward. Why? Because in that case, cost of production will increase by imposition of tax. So S sub 0 shifts parallelly leftward to say S sub 1. That means the imposition of tax is impacting the supply side of butter market. The demand side of the butter market remains non-impacted or unaffected. So D sub 0 remains, D sub 0, the demand curve remains at D sub 0, and D sub 0 and S sub 1 intersect say at point M. Let the early equilibrium point is say E. Now D sub 0 and S sub 1 intersect at point M. So price rises to P sub 1. This is P sub 1, and quantity demanded falls from Q sub 0 to Q sub 1. So here the impact is price is increasing, that is equilibrium price is increasing and equilibrium quantity is falling. This is the impact on butter market. Now let us see what happens in the margarine market. Firstly, margarine is a substitute of butter. Now price of butter has increased, so demand for margarine will increase. As we have learned in theory of demand, that when price of a commodity increases, the demand for its substitute commodity also increases, and if price of a commodity falls, then demand for its substitute commodity will also fall. So as a result of increase in price of butter, demand for margarine will increase. So the demand curve D sub 0 will shift parallelly rightward. Let this be the new demand curve D sub 1. And the original point of intersection, that is the intersection point between D sub 0 and S sub 0, be R. R is the intersection point between S sub 0 and D sub 0. Now as a result of increase in price of butter, demand for margarine is increased. So the demand curve of margarine shifts parallelly rightward from D sub 0 to D sub 1, and D sub 1 and S sub 0 intersect at this point. Say this is point S. You see, there is no change in supply curve of margarine. Why? Because imposition of tax has not affected the supply side of margarine market. So the supply curve remains same, that is at S sub 0. The imposition of tax is indirectly influencing the demand side of margarine market. Why? Because price of butter has increased due to imposition of tax, and since margarine is a substitute commodity, substitute of butter, so demand for butter is increasing. So imposition of tax is influencing the demand side of margarine market, whereas it was influencing the supply side of the butter market. Now D sub 1 and S sub 0 intersect at point S. So let P sub 1 is an equilibrium price and Q sub 1 is an equilibrium quantity. But this is not the end. Why? As a technological breakthrough has been achieved in the production of margarine in that country. As a technological breakthrough is achieved, the cost of production of margarine has fallen. As a result, the supply curve will shift parallelly rightward, isn't it? When the cost of production falls, the suppliers are ready to supply more quantity because by doing that their profit will increase. So the supply curve will shift parallelly rightward. Let S sub 1 is the new supply curve. Now S sub 1 and D sub 1 intersect at this point. Let this point be N. You see, the equilibrium quantity has increased from Q0 to Q, say Q sub 2. As a result of increase in demand and increase in supply. But the price has remained at P sub 0. Remember one thing, this is not necessary that price will remain same. Price may remain same, price may change. In this case, price has remained same. Why? Because the change in demand, that is increase in demand, is equal to change in supply, that is increase in supply. So here, increase in demand is equal to increase in supply. Due to this, price has remained at P sub 0. Now let us see when the price changes. Consider this diagram. Let D sub 0 and S sub 0 are the demand curve and supply curve respectively. P sub 0 and Q sub 0 are the equilibrium price and quantity respectively. Supply increases as a result of technological breakthrough. So the new supply curve becomes S sub 1. At the same time, since price of butter has increased, demand for margarine would increase. I have shown this here. Now suppose the demand increases by a big amount. The curve is shifted rightward, parallelly rightward. Say D sub 1. D sub 1 is the new demand curve and S sub 1 is the new supply curve. And D sub 1 and S sub 1 intersect, say, at point U. Now here you see, this is the equilibrium quantity and this is the equilibrium price. Say P sub 1 is the equilibrium price and Q sub 1 is the equilibrium quantity. Now here you see equilibrium quantity has increased as well as equilibrium price has increased. Here only equilibrium quantity has increased. In this case, increase in demand is equal to increase in supply, and here increase in demand is greater than increase in supply. So the price has increased. Okay. So here I have discussed the impact of imposition of tax on butter on the butter market, that is equilibrium price and quantity in the butter market and equilibrium price and quantity in the margarine market. As a result of imposition of imposition of tax on butter by the government, the supply curve S sub 0 shifts parallelly leftward to S sub 1 and the equilibrium price increases from P sub 0 to P sub 1 and equilibrium quantity falls from Q sub 0 to Q sub 1. Now what is happening in the margarine market? We have taken two cases where increase in demand is equal to increase in supply, and here increase in demand is more than increase in supply. In margarine market, what will happen? Since margarine is a substitute commodity, substitute of butter, so increase in price of butter will increase the demand for margarine. So demand for margarine is increasing, so the demand curve D sub 0 is shifting parallelly rightward in both the cases. And at the same time, since our technological breakthrough has been achieved in the production process of margarine, the cost of production of margarine has fallen. As a result, the supply curve would shift parallelly rightward, supply would increase. I have shifted the supply curve rightward in both the cases. Here, the increase in demand is equal to increase in supply. That is why the equilibrium quantity has increased, but equilibrium price has remained at P sub 0. But in this case, the increase in demand due to increase in price of butter, the increase in demand is much more than increase in supply. As a result, equilibrium price has increased as well as equilibrium quantity has increased. Okay. So this is all about this video. I believe you have well understood it. Still, should you have any doubt in your mind, if you think any point needs further explanation or clarification, please feel comfortable to let me know through the comment section. I shall be more than glad to respond to all your relevant queries. And if you think the video is useful and beneficial for you, please do share the video with your friends, brothers, sisters and colleagues so that they can also derive benefit by watching this video. And finally, thank you very much for watching this video. Stay well and goodbye.